Hi everyone, today I'm doing Colorful Corn Cookies. This video forms part of a very special YouTube cooking channel collaboration where each of us is chosen to do part of a Thanksgiving Day dinner. I chose to do dessert, and if you check the description box below, you will find links to other part of this great Thanksgiving Day meal, so go check out those other recipes. Here we go, starting off with a large bowl and 1/2 cup of softened butter. To this add 1 cup of white granulated sugar. Blend that together until it's light and fluffy. Then you're going to add 1 beaten egg and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Blend that together until it's creamy. I found this recipe on Pinterest originally, and it comes from the familyfun.com website. Now add 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, and if you used unsalted butter, at this point you can add 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now add 2 cups of all-purpose flour, and you're going to blend it in a little at a time in 2 or 3 additions, blending after each addition. Now you'll notice when you get to the end, this dough is going to appear a little dry and it's going to be kind of crumbly. But don't worry about that, because what we're going to do is use our hands and you're going to bring all those little pieces together into a dough ball. As you knead this, the butter will melt a little because of the heat of your hands. It'll come together quite nicely. If you find that the dough is too sticky or too soft, you can put it in the refrigerator and let it chill for about 30 minutes or so. My dough was fine, so I put it between sheets of parchment paper, and using a rolling pin, I roll out the dough until it was about 1/4 inch thick. I rolled out the dough into one big piece. You can cut that dough ball in half if you have a smaller surface area to work on. Once the dough is all rolled out, you need to cut it into corn cob shaped pieces. The recipe states you can use a knife to do this, but I thought a cookie cutter would work even better. Now I didn't have a corn cob shaped cookie cutter, so I decided to make one. That's an aluminum drip tray that goes in the bottom of the oven. Taking a ruler and the blunt end of a butter knife, and just drew 4 lines parallel to one another about 1 inch apart. And then I cut off the edges of the drip tray, the ones that kind of curl up, and then folding the edges inward towards the center, and then folding it in half again, and then taking a ruler and just flattening it out to crease those edges nicely. Now by folding in the cut edges, you don't have any really sharp edges on the aluminum to cut yourself with. And then you're just going to basically fold it into the corn cob shape that you want, any size that you want, of course. And if it's too long, you just cut the pieces off with a pair of scissors, and then staple the end pieces together when you're done. And there's the completed cookie cutter. It has 2 edges. It has the edge that has a folded up sides, and that might have a little bit of a gap in it. I wouldn't use this side to cut the cookies out. I would use this side that has no gaps. And just use it like a regular cookie cutter. They're fairly sturdy. They certainly can be reused if you wash them carefully after you're done with them. Or you could even throw them in with the cans in the recycling if you didn't want to use them again. So you cut out your little corn cob shape. The only thing that I found with mine was where it was stapled together, a little bit dough got caught in there, but I put it into some hot soapy water, gave it a good wash, and it all came out. So once you cut out all your shapes, put it on a cookie sheet, put the whole thing into the freezer just like it is right there, and let it sit in the freezer for about 20 minutes. Now what happens is it makes the dough firm up, so it makes it very easy to get those cut shapes out of the surrounding dough, because sometimes they will crack and they'll rip when you try to pull them out. This case, it works really, really well. I do this with all of my cutout cookie recipes. This recipe is a really nice cutout cookie recipe as well if you're looking for a cookie recipe that doesn't spread very much and hold its shape quite nicely. Put them on a cookie sheet that's been covered with a silicone mat, greased or covered with parchment paper. You can crowd them fairly well on the cookie sheet because this recipe, like I said before, doesn't spread very much. Then bake these in the oven at 350 degrees for about 9 or 10 minutes until the edges are just lightly browned, and you might have a little bit of light brown on the bottom as well. Let them cool on the cookie sheet for a couple minutes, transfer them to a wire rack, and let them cool completely. There's a finished cookie, and now we're going to decorate. This is some buttercream frosting that I tinted just a light shade of yellow. I will put the link to the video where I make this buttercream in the description box below and on the annotations on your screen. Put a little bit of that frosting on, doesn't have to be very thick, and then you're going to add some Reese's Pieces candies to act as little kernels of corn. Reese's Pieces, if you're unfamiliar with them, are peanut butter flavored candies. If you don't have Reese's Pieces where you live, you might have to look around to see what candies you have available. So once the candies are all placed on the cookie in nice little rows, now we're going to make the corn cob husk. To do this, I'm using fruit roll-ups and fruit by the foot. These are fruit roll-ups. It is a fruit flavored candy, like a fruit leather, that's sold in these rolls, just like this, and it comes in all sorts of different colors. This is the box that it comes in. And then just take a pair of kitchen scissors and you're going to cut kind of long, skinny triangle shapes from it. And I'll show you what I mean in just a moment. So there is kind of a long, elongated triangle shape, and you're going to put the skinny end of the triangle at the top and then just gently press it onto the cookie along the edge. Put a second piece on the other side and it makes like a V shape in the center. And that looks like the husk on a cob of corn. You can also just curl the little points of those triangles downward to make it look more realistic. Now I found that this color was a little bit too dark green. I wanted to add a little bit of yellow to it. I had some rainbow colored fruit by the foot, and there were sections of it that had two colors together, and there was a section of yellow green. So I cut those out into more triangle shapes and I stuck them on top, and I think it actually made a really nice effect. There are the completed cookies. These cookies aren't very large, however, they do have a lot of candy, fruit leather, frosting, and cookie to them. So you may want to serve maybe 1 or 2 per person would be plenty. There's a couple different ways you could eat these. You could deconstruct them by removing all the candies first and then eating the cookie, or you could just bite into the whole thing. I was a little bit skeptical on how that would taste altogether, but you know what? It was pretty good, and I think kids would enjoy them. So, colorful corn cookies, give them a try.